The one network you haven't worked for, I guess. I suppose that ship has sailed.
Though not for lack of trying on their part.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us. And I thought, in a way, that was all about you. And you are now really almost uniquely free. You have a big media past, but are free of big media overlords. You're not working for a big corporation. You are working for yourself. And one of the things that you were able to do in that context that I think Fox would absolutely not have let you do, NBC certainly wouldn't, was appear on stage with President Trump on November 4th, my birthday,
yes.
in Pittsburgh, and say, President Trump gets it, the reasons you're voting, it lists the reasons you're voting for him, a lot to do with masculinity, which I want to ask you about later. And I wonder how you think about that in terms of, does it compromise you as a journalist? Does it make people trust you more, like being that out there in politics?
Well, I never would have done that when I was doing straight news. That would have been totally inappropriate. But I'm in a different role now. And it was funny because that was a new bridge to cross for me in whatever lane I'm in now, which is a hybrid. And the invite came in from Team Trump, and I talked to my husband about it, and I was like, wow, they want me to do this, and I really think I want to do it. And Doug, my husband, who's very smart, was like, I don't know if you should, babe. He's like, you're still in this other lane, and it is crossing a Rubicon in a way. And I said, honey, I don't know what to say other than I really feel called to do it. There are too many things that are too important to me to where if I could make a difference on this and I didn't, and he loses, I'll never forgive myself. I mean, in particular, the protection of children with the gender madness. I'm like, I say this stuff every day on my show. What's the difference between doing that and going out and saying it next to him in a way that would get potentially even more pickup? And from the second I said yes to the second I finished speaking for him, I felt totally elated, and I haven't second-guessed that decision one time.
I mean, I think your audience probably, I would guess, mostly voted for Trump, but I know lots of people who watch you and didn't. Do you worry that they can't trust you, that as you cover him going forward, that they'll kind of think you're in the tank?
No, not at all. I mean, our numbers are huge.
Yeah.
I know you just had CNN on. In January, last month, on their YouTube feed, they got 155 million views, and we were 147 million. Just me.
Is your cost structure slightly lower? Is that what you're?
Exactly. Well, I'm just saying that's one show, the Megyn Kelly show, just me and my 6 producers, versus every single show on CNN, every single thing they put on YouTube. I was within 6 or 7 million of them. The month of the election, November, I beat them. I beat all of them. By the way, I beat NBC, I beat CBS, all of them regularly, the Sky News. November, I beat them all of them. ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, all of them. So I'm not having a trust issue. I
was going to say, so do you sort of see these numbers, which to many people in this room are very dire, do they worry you as like a citizen, or in some sense, do you benefit from this environment in which people are losing trust in everyone else and turning to you? Well,
that's an interesting question. To some extent, it's sad because I'm, formerly of legacy media, and I'm sad that it has decided to go this way. I wish it hadn't been so. And I was making it in the media when it was a behemoth and would be doing just fine if I were in it now. So I don't feel like my own success depends on them failing. But I think the country would be better off if we had the old version of CNN and the more original version of MSNBC. It's fine, we are where we are, and that's fine too. Like, I like the fact that we're all getting more honest, like Fox is what it is, but now CNN's pretty open about being left-leaning, and people see it with their eyes.
That's not what I heard from Mark just now.
He's not going to say it, but who's the conservative host in the CNN primetime? Like, anyone? Like, Scott Jennings, one panelist, doesn't make your network
and you don't buy that they can just get out of it. I think what he was trying to say is they're trying to get out of the opinion business. Their hosts are neither conservative nor liberal.
They could do that. They could, but it would require firing everyone. Honestly, everyone has to go. You can't, that'd be like saying to Rachel Maddow tomorrow, please try to be more fair and balanced. And let's say she somehow manages to do it, and she sounds neutral, right down the middle. No one's going to believe that. They already know what her bias is, and that's the position in which CNN finds itself. It did this to itself. It was a travesty. I watched it happen every night I was on cable news primetime over on Fox, and it only got worse in the 4 years after I left.
For the record, I'm not sure Wolf Blitzer and Rachel Maddow, but just to move on, you once said something that kind of has stuck with me in a private conversation about kind of the challenge of you have, I think, very strong negative views about the media, but also you're able to do some of your own reporting, probably I think more than almost in most people on YouTube, but ultimately you depend for information on the people that you're criticizing, don't you?
Yeah, I don't say the media has no purpose, or that, especially local reporters have no purpose, and I worry about the demise of local news in particular. That's where you find all the great stories. But, these big newsrooms are losing money hand over fist, and that's the first to go. So, I don't say, oh, does the New York Times have no value? No, I wouldn't agree with that. But I do think it's a travesty that all we have over there is really Bret Stephens for an alternate point of view. And every single slant on every single piece, we know what it's going to be. And so it's gotten to the point where even, seasoned journalists who probably everybody in this room trusts, like Brit Hume, can't even read that paper anymore. Now that's wrong. Something's gone wrong when Brit Hume doesn't even want to pick it up for information because he feels everything is about spin.
But what about just informationally? Like, you're producing this show, you're talking about facts. Like, a lot of those facts come from the New York Times, from the Associated Press, things like that.
Or from the pool.
Or from the pool.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not saying there's no need for actual reporters who go and gather information. I've never argued the opposite. But to have virtually every publication in the country be established leftist is bad for the country, and it's what led to the rise of digital media and a more diverse field of independent broadcasters who are pushing back against that.
So just on a businessy subject related to this world, Fox Corp just acquired the company that produces and sells the advertising for the Megyn Kelly show, Red Seat, run by, again, a very brilliant guy named Chris Balfe.
He doesn't produce my show.
They don't produce it, but they sell the ads?
They sell the ads.
Yeah, but they're very intertwined and have been very central to the creation of this ecosystem, although they do not control the programming. But I'm curious when Chris calls you and says, hey, by the way, we're going back to Fox. Is that an awkward phone call? Do you care?
Well, I love Chris Balfe, so anything that's good for him, I'm in favor of. I'm happy he got paid out. He's worked so hard for so many years, so good for him. But what it means for me is that now, instead of Chris Balfe selling my ads, Fox News or Tubi actually is going to be selling my ads, and it's almost irrelevant to me. It's fine. It's net. It's probably better to get along with the Murdochs than it is not to. But it's a complicated relationship, and I would just say the difference is, and you hit it in your podcast with Chris, they work for me now. I don't work for them. Can't control anything I say or do. And
do you ever feel like it would be better if you had a producer occasionally, like in the old days, being like, Megyn, maybe that's too much?
You assume too much about how it used to work for me at Fox. No, the whole thing is collaborative. And look, what I love about the lane I'm in now is if I say something wrong, and of course I do, I just go back out there and I say, oh, I screwed that up. Let me correct this. I stepped in it, and the audience is extremely loyal. They know you. Podcasting is very unique.
Get a recent example?
They tune in. Well, I've talked about how I recommended the COVID vaccine without enough questions. And I really felt strongly that if there was a significant strain of negativity around it or side effects, that Pfizer or Moderna would own it and would fix it. And I was very wrong about that, and I've owned it openly.
I think I'm not going to get to the bottom of this one in the next 3 minutes and 45 seconds. But years ago, protesters went to Tucker Carlson's home. I think you probably both remember that pretty vividly. You called it at the time stomach turning and said it has to stop. But it's funny, I was talking to another broadcaster the other night, and she said, one thing Megyn does that is most of us don't do is go after other people in media really personally. There's sort of a gentleman's agreement in a lot of media to not attack each other personally. And that I don't know if you think that's true as a broadcast person.
Why don't you do me a favor and Google Megyn Kelly NBC and tell me whether the journalists
you recently
don't
talked
go after
about
each other personally.
Maddow's public complaints and sort of said that she should put up or shut up, basically, but also about her expensive real estate, about her homes. And I'm curious, do you have any compunction about getting that personal?
No. I would never give out her address. That would be a bridge too far, and it doesn't compare to what happened to Tucker in any way, shape, or form. But Rachel Maddow got out there and tried to act like, I'm a woman of the working class. I'm here to represent the poor staffers who could lose their jobs now as a result of Joy Reid biting it. And meanwhile, she's collecting $25 million a year. She's got multiple homes worth millions. You know what? Why don't you take a $2 million pay cut and save 10 of those jobs? If you feel that sad, you don't even have to pay it out of your bank account. Just tell them, pay me $23 million next year instead of $25. She won't do it. She wants to seem virtuous and sanctimonious, but in fact, she's only the latter because she won't actually put any money on the line. And an example of the exorbitant life she leads while she's trying to remind us, I've worked so many jobs, the jobs I've worked, puts to the point her hypocrisy.
So, sometimes I watch clips, sort of a little like what you just said, but maybe more like the, you had a very heated riff on, I'm forgetting her name, but the mother of Elon Musk's latest child. And, and I wonder, the medium that you're in now is the views that you talk about, the views any network is getting, mostly to viral clips, a lot to the show, a lot of people watching in the linear way, but the bulk of YouTube is always going to be, here is like an incredible monologue that went viral. Do you feel like you've been shaped by the medium, that you've been pushed into these sort of like more heated monologues, these kind of, these maybe more confrontation? I don't know, that there's something about that kind of monologue that's about trying to go viral?
Do you feel I didn't have any confrontational segments while
No,
I was
obviously
on
it
Fox
comes
News?
naturally.
That's just who I am.
All right.
And by the way, what I said about Elon's partner and the baby would have been nothing, but she decided to go public and then to play the victim. And my point was simply—
You went after her.
Here's the thing though, Ben, for a purpose. You should listen to what I said. Because what's happening now is we see these young women trying to or successfully hooking up with these 100 millionaires or these billionaires in Elon's case, which is your choice. If you want to do that, go for it. If you want to have a baby with somebody who's got 12 other children with several other women, go for it. Then don't you dare turn around and ask me to look at you as a victim when it doesn't work out. And he's with somebody else on Valentine's Day. It was a message to women, especially young ones, to own their choices and to remind them, if you want the lavish apartment, which is what the New York Post wrote up about when they did her photo shoot, I want privacy in her photo shoot. Earn it. Go get a damn job. Work hard. Work the weekends. Do the shitty jobs that nobody else will do. And on top of that, you could meet a man who wants to marry you and have children with you and build a family with you and be with you on Valentine's Day. But when you make those terrible choices, don't go running to the New York Post or Twitter and asking me to feel sorry for you, because I don't.
Final quick question. Jeff Bezos' decision, he's sort of a couple of pretty abrupt decisions to change the direction of the Washington Post. I guess in some sense I'm asking you this as an expert in masculinity, but does it come across to you as ballsy or as weak?
I guess closer to weak, because he's doing what Joe and Mika did. He's bending the knee. It's the same thing as their trip to Mar-a-Lago. Jeff Bezos, for years, up until about 2 minutes ago, was imploring Jennifer Rubin at the Washington Post. He hasn't had a change of heart. Give me a break. Over there, I love Mark Thiessen. Nobody loves Mark Thiessen more than me. But you got Thiessen and like Garrity, who I also love from National Review, but they're not even really true diehard MAGAs.
Do you think Bezos wins points, wins respect in the White House from this sort of stuff, or the reverse?
You win respect with Trump when you go to him and you tell him, I like you, which is clearly what Bezos did. The reporting is very clear.
So you think it'll work?
I think Trump and he will be fine, but that doesn't make any difference at all to somebody like me who's actually looking for sincerity. And I'm really pleased you've come around to the value of individual liberties, because they were written right into the Bill of Rights a couple of 100 years ago. Welcome to the party.
Very controversial stance, the individual liberties.
Right.
Also the free market, very.
Right.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us, Megyn.
You bet, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you. Thanks.
Guys.